Well, a great afternoon to you all. I'm Naima Latif, and today, on the fifth Saturday of the month, we'll take a look at achieving world peace. There's a whole movement happening right before our eyes, and we're oblivious to it because our attention is being diverted to all the worst information. How many of you heard about shootings this weekend? How many of you heard about robberies this weekend? How many of you heard about all of the various attempts to create havoc in our communities by people who either tried to rob someone, tried to burglarize someone, started a fight with someone? How many of you focused your attention on those news stories all week long happening in the city where you live? And how many of you began to feel concern, maybe even apprehension, or let's just call it straight up fear? You're starting to be afraid to leave your home, starting to be afraid to talk to people, starting to be afraid to be out in public doing the things you need to do in order to make your life functional. It's so easy to become diverted and to have your attention focused on the worst human behavior that you forget the best of human behavior is actually happening simultaneously, and there's more of it. So, our goal always is to remind you that the earth is going through a transformation. And what is happening is a separation between those who desire love, peace, harmony, and joy, and those who, because of what is inside of them, unresolved conflicts, they're preferring to create chaos through conflict, violence, hurtful behavior, unloving behavior. They're choosing that. And so those who are choosing to live in the way of peace are separating from those who choose to live in the way of unpeace, chaos, distress. But if you keep your attention focused on the bad news, then you're like somebody who is choosing to step into a mud puddle and waddle in it. You're choosing to keep yourself in the mud when you could have chosen to simply step around it and keep walking. It's a choice. And that choice is made because you're not aware of the better choice that's available. And a whole world that's happening with people who get along, people who appreciate each other, people who are not afraid of each other, people who share with each other. That's happening right under your nose. But if you allow yourself to be diverted, you won't see it. So today we want to bring you a reminder that a world of peace is already here and you can choose to live in it. The organization Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light is operating all across the world, changing lives and recognizing those who are helping in that process. So when we come back, we're going to bring you a special ceremony held in Chicago that honored those whose works are daily changing lives. And many of these people, if you're in the Chicagoland area, or you just may have heard of them because they are national and even global, you'll realize that the good work being done is much more powerful than the work that is distressful and disharmonious. And you can choose where to focus your attention. We'll be right back with Heavenly Culture, World Peace, Restoration of Light, HWPL, honoring the peacekeepers. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
And we are back. You are listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. And we'll give you an opportunity to call in and make your comments as we take a break after introducing to you a very powerful program held at the top of the Sears Tower, now known as the Willis Tower. And this was an event that was captured in our edition, our special international edition of the On Air magazine. And you can, of course, read the On Air magazine right on the On Air Everywhere website, which gives you some powerful, impactful information from those information sharers all across the world. But this magazine, digital as well as in print, of course, gives you a chance to see some powerful interviews, read some powerful statements from leaders in our midst. And this special international edition, you can see on the cover, features Chairman Man-Hee Lee, who is he's the international head of Heavenly Culture, World Peace, Restoration of Light. And for those who know him, you can also see on the cover of the magazine one of our great judges that will be part of this ceremony, being honored, because this is an edition that honored those who are making a difference across the Chicagoland area. And we take a look at a war that impacted so many people around the world, the Korean War. Why were Americans in Korea fighting? Well, the politics behind war has to do with economics. And one of the things that came out in this ceremony was the fact that so many nations destroyed, decimated their populations, primarily of young men, fighting for whatever purpose their population was told, but really it had to do with the battle between nations of America and Russia and all those who took sides, because North Korea wanted to be communist and South Korea did not. But it truly was a family squabble that should not have involved other nations. So in this edition of the On Air magazine, we gave honor and respect and exposure for those who are part of this global peace movement. So Judge Stanley Hill on the cover, along with Chairman Man-Hee Lee, is one of those who's making a difference with his work with children and teaching them the power of speech and being a mentor and helping them in the eloquence of presentation in the Rainbow Push Excel speech competition that he organized each year. And he's shaping the future And this is what so many people who are being honored in this event are doing. So, we're going to bring you a bit of the ceremony. And those who are involved in the process of keeping the peace are being honored in this special event held again at a major building in Chicago, historic building. And this event was an opportunity to remind us that we truly are moving to a state of world peace. And we have the power to change our focus so that we are not sidetracked and made to feel fearful, believing that the world is becoming worse. One of the most powerful things about this gathering is that there were so many diverse people from various religions, various ethnicities, even various national origins, because world peace really is a collective effort. It means changing the environment in our communities where there's economic disparity. Because all of the acts of violence that you probably heard about were motivated by people in economic distress. We know how people panicked when the SNAP benefits were cut off and people were in a state of panic that they were going to starve. And some of them started trying to shoplift. We had that happen. But what prevents that kind of behavior is a culture of peace where we learn to share. And nations need to share with each other, not try to overcome, conquer, and take, but to share resources, share inventions, share systems, share knowledge. There's no reason for there to be conflict anywhere. Not in your home, not on your block, not in your neighborhood, not in your city, not in the state, not in your country. There's no reason because there is enough of everything for everybody. So these people who are being honored are making the best use of their time, their talent, their resources to affect the conditions in the various areas where they work. And they are being an example of how to create a society of peace. So they are being honored, and we're going to bring you coverage of that wonderful event courtesy of CAN TV in Chicago, among many of the media outlets that were present to witness what's really going on right under our noses. There are two different worlds happening. You can either be in the world of distress or be in the world of harmony. It depends on where you want to focus your attention. We are choosing to recognize the best in us so that we can experience joy, peace, and love. It's all right here. We'll be right back after this quick break, and we're going to bring you that wonderful celebration and recognition of those who are making a difference in our world and encouraging all of us to join them so we can live in a new earth of peace. We'll be right back. So stay with us. And now let's greet our global family watching from all around the world.
We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom.
In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you. Yes, we do want to talk to you, and we want you to talk to us too. That's why we're here live 7 days a week, and you can watch us Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Central Time and 7 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday, and every Saturday and Sunday at 12 noon Central Time. So now let's bring to you a wonderful presentation held a few years ago, but certainly still potent with many of the peacekeepers, the leaders, those who are making a difference, being honored in this special ceremony. And for those who remember, Chicago has always been a city that right in the middle of the nation reflects what's really happening in this nation and the world because of its diverse population. So if all of these diverse groups can get together and make a difference, can't it happen everywhere? And isn't it happening everywhere? Yes, it is. Let's take a look at the Sound of Peace Conference.
Advocates. My name is John Davis, and I will be your MC tonight. Thank you for coming out tonight to the Sound of Peace in Chicago Conference. As it is now summertime here in Chicago, many people are gathered with their families and friends to soak up the warmth, of course, and create beautiful, beautiful summertime and springtime memories. But sadly, The scene of peace and serenity isn't a universal reality for all of Chicagoans or even the United States. Our streets have become war zones where innocent people get caught in the crossfires. There were 2,785 victims of gun violence in Chicago last year alone. Of that number, 650 were fatal gunshot wounds. Despite our collective efforts to achieve peace, we have yet to feel fully free and to free ourselves from war and violence that so often devastates our communities. HWPL Chairman Man-Hee Lee knows this devastation all too well, as he himself is a Korean War veteran that had to fight against his own brethren in a divided nation. Because Chairman Lee has witnessed firsthand the destruction and loss of life brought on by war, he has made it his mission to travel the world and advocate for the cessation of war. In line with HWPL's work, the purpose of tonight's conference is to restore the hope that we can and will enact change together. We must come together in support of the International Peace Initiative that clearly defines the ways in which we can end war permanently. This International Peace Initiative is the DPCW, Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War, a bottoms-up approach to peace building that includes 10 articles and 38 clauses, ranging from topics such as religious freedom to repurposing weapons for humanitarian purposes. The DPCW is the answer to how we can cease coercion and threats of violence against nations and their people. Instead of building nuclear weapons, let us then turn our attention to build each other up and to create a world that we are so proud to leave to our future generations. I know that you all came out tonight to hear the words of peace advocate Chairman Lee. Regrettably, he will not be joining us tonight due to an unforeseen change in schedule. Instead, we will watch a video of the speech he recently gave at the United Nations on May 31st, 2018, for their intercultural dialogue for peace development. But tonight's event will proceed as follows. First, we will listen to a series of speeches by 6 guest speakers, followed by a short video from HWPL, cultural performances, HWPL, Chairman Man-Hee Lee's UN speech, and then we will have the peace letter and unification letter ceremonies, followed by the HWPL publicity ambassador ceremony reception. And before we go into the first part of this event tonight, HWPL would like to recognize a few distinguished guests that have joined us tonight. Guests, as I announce your names, would you please briefly stand where you are and then return to your seats, of course. Let us give a round of applause for Secretary General of the U.S. Council of Muslim Organizations, Osama Jamal. Judge Stanley Hill. Cook County Department of Veterans Affairs Director Bill Brown. Imam Dean Mohammed. Chancellor Dr. Wasiullah Khan. And Dr. Willie Wilson, who will be joining us, I think, a little bit later. As many of you know, he is running for mayor of Chicago and wouldn't miss this opportunity at all. So we expect for Dr. Wilson. Is that Dr. Wilson? Yes, Dr. Wilson, come on in. Let us please welcome at this time someone who is here in great spirit and presence. Judge Stanley Hill, who will speak more about the DPCW and its relevance to Chicago and peace building efforts today. Judge Stanley Hare.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Chairman Manhee Lee and HWPL for bringing Sounds of Peace to Chicago. I was asked to speak on what can judges do to implement heavenly culture, world peace, restoration of light, articles of world peace. That's what I'll attempt to answer. Presently, a judge's role is not to make new law, but to uphold the laws which are made by the legislature. While making a decision about a case, a judge must follow the precedents set by higher courts with respect to the situation and the conditions that are applicable. A judge's freedom is restricted by the rules of precedent given to them to follow. A judge may not pursue his own notions of justice, ignoring the limits of the law. Since the legislature cannot define each and every possibility, there arises a need for judges to interpret the law. It is here that judges can so interpret to implement the Universal Declaration of Human Rights endorsed by HWPL. Courts may acknowledge in their rulings that all members of the human family enjoy human dignity and equal and inalienable rights, and that these rights represent a necessary tenet of the preservation of freedom, justice, and peace throughout the world. Thus, courts can confidently give effect to constitutional policies like equality, social economic justice, and the recognition of the rights of all individuals to a more meaningful life. Let justice be done to all people. If the strong oppresses the weak, confusion and discontent will ever mark the path of humankind. But with love, faith, and charity towards all, the reign of peace and plenty will be heralded into the world, and the generations of humanity shall be blessed. Our world is an increasingly place of violent conflict, hatred, and brutal atrocities, even in the name of God and religion. No religion is immune from forms of individual delusion and ideological extremism. We must be attentive to every type of fundamentalism espousing hatred and acrimony. Rhetorical slandering of any people is unacceptable. The contemporary world, with its open wounds which negatively affect so many of our brothers and sisters, demand that we confront every form of polarization which would divide us. We cannot allow this level of violence to continue without mobilizing a response. Our response must be one of hope and healing, with love, faith, and charity for all. Our efforts must be at restoring peace, righting wrongs, maintaining commitments, and promoting the well-being of all people. The challenges facing us today call for a spirit of cooperation. The complexity, the gravity, and urgency of these challenges demand that we pool our resources and talents to support one another with respect for our differences and our convictions of conscience. Violence leads to more violence. Hatred breeds more hatred. Revenge does not bring us true happiness or peace. Pierre Chardin was a French philosopher and Jesuit priest who stated, "Someday, after mastering the winds, the rains, the tides, and gravity, we shall harness for God the energies of love. And then, for a second time in the history of the world, humanity will have discovered fire." We must harness the energies of love by connecting our own path to a higher purpose. We must strive to build a world based on love, kindness, compassion, generosity, mutual cooperation, the recognition of the Spirit of God and other human beings, with an awareness of our interdependence with each other. There is much anger and violence in America because we have no leaders we can trust, no visions to invest in, no faith to ride. All we have are our own protean moralities, our countless codes, which we shape and reshape according to our own selfish needs. We don't care to think too far ahead. We remain trapped in whatever season we find ourselves without the courage to do what is right. As we grapple with the complexities of our age, I suggest that we agree upon one thing, that a crucial measure of our success in life is the way we treat one another in our lives. When we lessen the burden of living for those around us, we are doing well. When we add to the misery of the world, we are not. Our norm must be to love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with your entire mind. That is the first and great commandment. And the second is, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of human persons, in the equal rights of men and women, in the promotion of social progress and better standards of life for people and future generations, and in the need to facilitate peaceful coexistence among the world's religions, beliefs, and ethnicities. We must pursue and promote these goals if we are to cool the flames of violence and bring about world peace. Eternal God, by whose power we are created and by whose love we are redeemed, guide and strengthen us by your Spirit, that we may give ourselves to your service today and each and every day in working for peace. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Yes, quite a powerful presentation and powerful words to remember. We're going to take another quick break and come back. We'll talk a little bit about that DPCW, that global document that has been presented as a guideline that nations have been asked to support, ensuring there will be no more war in the future. We do have the power to do this. We'll be right back after this quick break. We want you all to stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be right back in just one moment, so stay with us.
Welcome to Master Force with Mushim Suit. Join us each week on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central, live on Facebook and YouTube on the Female Solution page, as we dive into powerful topics designed to assist you in mastering your life force. Our conversations feature a diverse lineup of experts, all dedicated to your growth. Tune in weekly to discover new ways to elevate your spirit and raise your vibration. And remember, we are ascending.
Yes, we are ascending. And that's important to remember. There is a new mind that is evolving. And if you allow yourself to be diverted into the worst of news, you're going to feel bad every day and you're going to miss it. So there are more presenters, but before that, we want to take a look at that document. And there are those who may, in fact, be aware that there are so many across the world who are agreeing to the principles in this document. So we can be assured that this next generation is not going to continue this climate of fear. In this special international edition of On Air Magazine, we have honored those who are part of this event, honored Chairman Man Lee, and of course there's the publisher, John Alexander, who also made a presentation, and many of those who are part of the process when it comes to making a difference in their various areas of expertise. But in this magazine, where we honor those who among us have been doing the work in the trenches, of course, Queen Mother Reverend Helen Sinclair and Anita Habil are two that have transitioned, but certainly while they were here, did tremendous work. And Dr. Lynn Muhammad, Audrey Kenner, Dr. Chandra Gill, and of course, John Alexander, among those who have made a difference when it comes to touching lives, mentoring people. Dr. Willie Wilson, well-known philanthropist, Walt Whitman, founder of the Soul Children, doing so much with music and developing youth, inspiring youth. Colonel Damon Arnold, so much in his area of medicine, and of course, Judge Stanley Hill being a wonderful mentor for youth as he continues to inspire them and train them in the skills that it takes to be a powerful voice. And there are those among us who have always been major world leaders. Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, Minister Louis Farrakhan, who even in their elder years continue to be a source of inspiration and continue to inspire generations after with their words that we hear and read even to this day. But the main contents of the Declaration of Peace and the Cessation of War, the DPCW, this is a document that outlines some major promises. And this has been presented to the United Nations, and all nations are asked to sign on to this as a way of life. States should solemnly affirm that they refrain from the use of force in all circumstances, save where permitted by international law, and should condemn aggression and as constituting an international crime. Moreover, states should prohibit any act or threat of violence, whatever its motives or purposes, that occurs for the advancement of an individual or collective criminal agenda, and should abstain from interference in the internal conflicts of other states. Now, that statement right there makes it clear that there is no reason, no excuse for interfering in another state's conflict, so that we will not ever have a situation that led to what became nearly a world war with the Korean War, which was a conflict between a nation. Article 2, which speaks of war potential, says states should not produce, assist in, encourage, or induce the production of weapons of mass destruction, and should cooperate with a view to the gradual global reduction of armament production. Decommissioned weapons and manufacturing facilities should be repurposed so that they may serve purposes that are beneficial to humanity in general. And then Article 3 talks about friendly relations and prohibition of acts of aggression. States should develop friendly relations based upon respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples, and should refrain from any forcible action that deprives people of their right to self-determination. States should also take measures to ensure that states, citizens, and corporations do not contribute to the commission of violations of international law. Moreover, states should seek to resolve and preempt disputes without prejudice to human rights, laws, and human dignity. So just these three, of course, address many of the problems that exist throughout our world and within our countries. Article 4 addresses state boundaries. Article 5 addresses self-determination. Article 6 addresses dispute settlement. Article 7 addresses right to self-defense. Article 8 addresses freedom of religion. Article 9 addresses religion, ethnic identity, and peace. And Article 10 addresses spreading a culture of peace. And this is critical because you have to teach it in your schools. You can't teach a philosophy that champions the right of a nation to go and colonize another. That is not heroic. And that is not something that our children should be taught to admire and emulate and plan for. So Article 10 on spreading a culture of peace says states should recognize and engage with groups and organizations that seek to further the cause of peace as a global movement. Heads of state and heads of government should act to support this declaration to bring about the cessation of war. States should promote a culture of peace, including ensuring conditions in which education is imparted to promote respect and mutual understanding among different religious beliefs and ethnic groups. So, a nation like America, with all of its diversity, we have the responsibility to teach within our educational institutions respect for all. This has not been something championed by a number of prominent groups in politics. So we're going to take another quick break and come right back. We want you to take a look at some work being done that helps the less fortunate, because this is what we should all be about. How do we bring peace by ending suffering? We'll be right back. Stay with us.
housing for the homeless. Because my little brother, in which we're doing this documentary for, Douglas Robinson, your death will not be in vain.
He was a heck of a great dude. And I love Doug. Doug loved me.
Just being around him, he had a good spirit. He was a healing person.
They are there.
Get SROs back.
When you give to the poor,
should not be forced out of their neighborhoods when it goes through a period of transformation.
Because there are too many people who are losing their homes to taxes because they can't pay a $1,000 tax bill.
And we are back. You're listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif. We're going to continue with the Sound of Peace Conference held in Chicago. And we heard the wonderful, illustrious voice of someone who you may remember hearing as a voice of the news, John Davis, always giving us a powerful presentation. And here he is moderator for the Sound of Peace Conference. So let's continue with more presentations from those who are recognized as peacekeepers.
Yes, it is completely possible for the different religions to not only be allies, but friends that cooperate together to promote peace and harmony. Now let us welcome media personality and CEO of Christ Alive Ministries, Audrey Kenner, who will speak to us about the role of media in spreading and influencing a culture of peace.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. It is truly an honor to be here. I've collaborated with HWPL for years in their interfaith dialogues, where I am always inspired, motivated, and filled with hope. As a media personality, HWPL's work often makes me think about how peace, war, and violence are portrayed in the media. As I find myself exposed to images and storylines of mass shootings and riots and corruption rather than narratives that uplift the human spirit and promote peace and conflict resolution, I cannot help but wonder how many people are negatively affected. Sadly, I must admit, I find myself believing at times that there is no hope for peace. I find myself wondering how many others are being silently inoculated by powerful rhetoric and left feeling like war is necessary and peace unattainable. As a nation, we are becoming more and more desensitized as we daily consume violence. But are we becoming so desensitized that violence feels more natural than peace? Has violence become so embedded in our culture that we have come to accept
and normalize a culture of violence destined to be passed down from generation to generation, rather than a culture of peace destined to be passed down from generation to generation. Ladies and gentlemen, the voices of peace must be heard, and media has the power through stories and information to impact the masses. Media must respect its power to influence for good or evil, or war or peace. Truth must be told through fair and balanced imagery and storylines. We must give power and media presence to those who lift up their voices and cry out for peace. Those who work tirelessly for peace deserve their stories not only heard, but news of their efforts should be spread far and wide. The media has a responsibility to the masses to report in a professional and unbiased manner and to bring to light more voices of peace and more of the world's work toward peace. Article 10 of the DPCW HWPL's Peace Law Initiative is about spreading a culture of peace throughout the world. Establishing a culture of peace is critical to developing a healthy, stable, and equitable worldview. And media coverage is vital. Causes and organizations who work tirelessly to make world peace not a theory, not a concept, but a reality are the voices of peace. And they're the sound of peace. So finally, this is a rallying cry for to reporters, editors, writers, publishers, and all forms of media tonight. We must make publicizing peace a priority by reporting about people and organizations who advance and advocate for peace in our city, in our country, and in our world. I charge you, members of the press and media, to be accountable. Be accountable for spreading the culture of peace as wide and as often as possible. Let's all work together daily to make peace our expectation, our norm, and a reality that's attainable in our society. William Gladstone, and for those of you who don't know, you can Google him now. William Gladstone once said, "We look forward to the time when the love of power will when the power of love will replace the love of power. Then will our world know the blessings of peace." May we all, everybody in this room, everybody in the city, long to know the blessings of peace. Thank you.
Ms. Audrey Kenner, thank you again for that speech. You're right that media is a vital tool in not only influencing the public's perception of peace and its attainability, but also in informing people and encouraging them to move together as one in order to enact the kind of change that we want. Last but certainly not least, please help me welcome my friend, Naima Latif of Naima Latif Communications. Ms. Naima, who has had a long-standing interest in the affairs of the Korean Peninsula, will now come forward to discuss the reunification of the Koreas and the greater implication and effect that will have on international peace-building efforts in severely war-torn countries. My sister, Naima Latif.
In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. I greet you all with the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum. And peace be upon all my brothers and sisters. When I visited South Korea last September 2017 for the third commemoration of the Warp Summit held in Seoul, South Korea, I had an opportunity to visit the South Korean War Memorial. Now, this is a museum that contains the history of war. And in that area, because it is a peninsula located between China and Japan, it's very strategically located. And so, for centuries, China and Japan have been fighting wars since before Christ to the present time. And this war memorial is lined with the names of those fallen soldiers, name after name. And as you see the names along the walls, you realize that they represent the broken families, the devastation of war, the poverty that it causes. So this memorial was designed to remind future generations that we must develop a more peaceful way of solving our differences. This Korean War was fought by many nations, and it started back in 1950. Now, of course, many people are unaware of what the circumstances were that caused this war. We must encourage the reunification of North and South Korea because it has the potential, if there is another war, to evolve into another world war. In 1950, when the communist North Korean army invaded the non-communist South Korean lands, as Kim Il-sung's North Korean head of the army, armed with Soviet tanks, invaded and overran South Korea, the United States quickly came to the aid of South Korea. Now, Russia had economic interests in the north and America had economic interests in the south. So even though it appeared to be a war between North and South Korea, actually Russia and America were using Korea to fight each other. The war lasted until 1953 and reached international proportions. The United States spent around $67 billion in the war. Its purpose was to try to check communist expansion. But how many lives were lost in that war? How many American lives were lost? The Pentagon put the Korean War battle deaths at 33,652, and then other deaths, meaning deaths from war zones, from illness, accidents, and other non-battle causes, at 3,262. So that's a total of 36,914 American lives lost. And that's just America. But this was a war that drew in other people. So in addition to the United States of America, North Korea, and South Korea, many other nations also lost many lives. There was also, among the nations involved, China, the Soviet Union, Turkey, United Kingdom, France, Iran, Canada, Australia, the Philippines, India, Greece, Italy, Thailand, New Zealand, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, Belgium, Colombia, Denmark, Luxembourg, the Kingdom of Greece, the Ethiopian Empire, and the Union of South Africa.
Now, we know when there's a war, who generally gets drafted. It's the young men. So the young men, fresh out of high school, really care whether North Korea was communist or not? Probably not. All they knew was that they were told to shoot somebody in a certain color uniform. So how many young men came back dysfunctional from post-traumatic stress disorder after having taken lives and seen the horrors of war? How many young men never came back at all and left behind widows and orphans? And at the end of everything, what did we really gain? North and South Korea remain divided along the lines of an economic system. North and South Korea must reunite to serve as an example for all the many divided nations in the world, where people are fighting over differences in religion, in culture, in language, or just old tribal differences. We have many divided nations across the world, and North and South Korea must demonstrate that we can live together and accept each other's differences. When a country divides, there are usually family members on both sides. So family members end up being pitted against family members, just like in the US Civil War. You had some people living in the North and some people living in the South. So when war broke out, you had brother fighting brother. And this is the tragedy. We must allow the family of North Korea to come together and heal their wounds and resolve their differences peacefully. We as a global family must encourage it with our voices, our words, our letters, asking our leaders to support this peaceful reunification. We must make it clear to our leaders that we will not send any more of our people out to kill others. We must make it clear that war is simply not an option. So for all of us who have elected officials, let us let them know we want them to support the DCPW, the Declaration of Peace and the Cessation of War. I support the peaceful reunification of North and South Korea.
Truly, we are not only being enlightened, but inspired tonight. The reunification of the Koreas will certainly show the world that no matter what history of war and tension countries may have, it is not impossible to unite if all parties respectfully communicate and have open minds to compromise and to indeed welcome peace. Now,
Yes, powerful presentations from so many that night. And we're excited because we see the continuation of a worldwide plan for peace. And as our sister Audrey says, the media has to choose to report those things that help us see that the world is changing for the better. So if we, the conscious journalists, give you good news, you have a choice on where you're going to put your eyes and ears. And if you're choosing to watch the stories that make you fearful, make you suspicious, make you too afraid to come out of your house. That's a choice you're making to live in a decadent world, when in fact, the world has divided. And there are those who are choosing peace, and they're living in peace, and they are enjoying the harmony with their neighbors, because this is what they are choosing to reflect in their lives. Make a choice. Follow us every day on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. We will bring you the good news of people that are making a powerful, positive difference. And you can join us wherever you are in the world. Whatever you've chosen to do is your vocation. You can choose to be a part of a new earth of peace. That is what we are creating. And you can choose to focus your attention on those who are making it happen. I'm Naima Latif. Thank you for joining us today, and join us tomorrow. We'll be back 12 noon with From Sea to Systems with Cicely. Join us Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. for some powerful voices. And make sure you are among those who are choosing peace. Until next time, continue to shine your light.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, ngiyabonga. Senegal, jaref. Kenya, asante. Israel, toda. Pakistan, shukriya. Afghanistan, tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.